What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, an special Kickstarter review. And today I'm very excited to check out Flick Wars. This is for 2 to 6 players, take about 20 minutes to play, and it's for ages 14 plus. And in Flick Wars, you are going to be taking control of a faction of, mechs and planes and tanks and all sorts of different things, and flicking your way around a board trying to destroy your opponents while managing your money and, doing some cool stuff along the way. It's an interesting flicking game with really cool terrain ideas, but does it work? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what's going to get inside of Flick Wars. So, first and foremost, I do want to mention this is the promotional copy I have in front of me, so take everything you see here with a grain of salt. So in Flick Wars, you're going to be playing on this big terrain right here, and you are going to be taking control of different colored factions, which will play a little bit differently, and you're going to be trying to destroy your opponent. So let's go over the components. Then let's get to the gameplay. First and foremost, we got our handy dandy rule sheet. It's 14 pages, double-sided, full color, full of plenty of pictures, illustrations, examples. It's very well done, even though it is kind of a wonky size. But still, big thumbs up on the rule booklet. I also want to mention I have a 2-player game set up right now, but you can play up to 6 players, and you can play it free-for-all, or you can play it team mode. In those different game modes, you'll have different bases set up around the board. So as you can see, this is just a piece of cardboard that's there to represent your base. So we're going to go over the components, and then we'll get into how the game is played. So first, we have your currency in this game. It's called coronines, or I don't know. They're called money. They're money. You know what they are. The big ones are going to be 5. The little ones are going to be 1. And at the beginning of the game, you're going to get 30 currency, and this is how you're going to be able to purchase your units and put them out onto the play mat right now. Also, you're each going to get your own individual group of units, which will be these guys right here. They're nice, they're wooden, they're sturdy, and they're going to have on them the picture of the unit and also what kind of unit it is. So you can have tanks, you can have ground units, you can have air units, and different units will do better versus different units. So for instance, if you're taking out a tank and you have a special, a special unit that's better at taking out tanks, then you're going to have more of a shot to destroy them. So each player is going to get that. When they start the game, they're going to get 30 bucks. They're going to get all of their color, and I think I'm missing one, but no biggie. And then they're going to get their corresponding group of cards. And each group of cards is going to have different units that you will be able to purchase. And everyone's also going to get a player aid card right here with your unique color on the back. And I'll go over this player aid card in a little bit. Very useful player aid card, though. So let's take a look at some of the units. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, but each faction is going to play a little bit differently. Some will be more about going off on your own and trying to destroy things. Some will want you to stay close with other people in your unit. Some will want you far away from your base. Some will want you close to your base. Some will want you, give you a lot of flicks. Some will give you a lot of good range, so you'll be able to hit people from further away. They all play very differently, which I really did enjoy. But let's take a look at just a typical one so you can see how it works. So this one is the nano bugs, and they're going to cost you 4 to get them out onto the board. So you'll have to spend 4 of your 30 bucks, and there is no way to get money back in this game at all. You're going to get to flick it 1 time whenever you take an action turn, and I'll tell you what an action turn is in a minute. And if you want to try and destroy an opponent, you can do an attack action, but you have to be within 1 range of that opponent, and I'll show you how this works in a little bit as well. But nearly all the units also have special text underneath them, and this one is a lone wolf. +1 flick if you activate more than 2 range away from any friendly unit. So for instance, these nano bugs, you actually kind of want them away from anybody else, because then they get 2 flicks, and having that extra flick is incredibly important. You'll see why in a little bit. Some of them will have shields, which you'll be able to place on them. Some of them will give you lots of flicks. Some of them will have 3 range. Lots of variability in the different units in the game. So when you first start the game, you are going to set out 2 units. You're going to randomly pick 2 of your units, and you're going to set them out there, and you are going to pay the cost to put them out there. Once everybody's done that, then you are going to set out terrain. Now, terrain is very different in this game. And they included, at least in this prototype copy, they included some random terrain that you could use. So you could put these things out, and you're used to terrain like, oh, look, there's a circle right here. Now I have to go around this circle. Big whoop-de-doo. But what this game does really differently, and which I absolutely love, spoiler alert, is the fact that you're actually able to put the terrain underneath the playmat. Yes, underneath the playmat, which drastically changes everything, because now you go from just trying to get it over, but to Smokey and the Banditing it, jumping over things. And it really makes the dexterity element of this game different, because judging how to get from point A to point B is already difficult enough with flicking, but judging how to get from point A to point B when there's a mountain here, and maybe on the other side of the mountain there's, maybe like this little bunker over there, is really something that makes this game stand out. And I'll talk more about that in the pros and cons, but anywho, you're going to be setting out terrain. And another thing is, you can use anything as terrain in this game. The last time I played, I actually set up like this little Lego bridge, which is kind of cool. We've used glasses case, scissors, cell phones, all sorts of various different things can be used as terrain in this game. So once everybody has spent their money, they got their 2 units out here, this is where you're going to start getting down to the nitty-gritty. And on your turn, you are going to have 2 choices you'll be able to do. The first thing you can do is an action turn, and the second thing is a command turn. And I'm going to talk about the command turn first before I talk about the action turns. So command turns are always going to be about moving your units, not attacking, but moving your units and buying new units. So you get 2 command actions. First thing you can do, take 1 move flick with a unit. So for instance, boom, I could do that. And then I would have 1 more command turn left. So maybe then I just want to get over the hill, so boom. That would be my entire turn if I wanted it to be. Now, one of the interesting aspects about taking a command turn is you can also pay 1 unium, which is the money, the clear things in the currency, and then you can take an additional command turn to better place yourself or to potentially buy and deploy a unit. And you do that just pretty simply. You just say, all right, I'm going to put something else out, and it's going to cost me $6-7. Put the card in front of me. Bada boom. And then most likely your command turn will be over. Now, if you're playing the advanced version, I use that term lightly, you can switch unit cards on stacks, because as you can see, it's going to be kind of hard to see which of these units is which. That just means you can essentially take out one of the cards you're using right then and then put in a different card for a different situation. We played with it once and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I actually just liked the base non-advanced version better, even though I still felt like it was plenty advanced. But I'll talk more about that in the pros and cons. So that's the command turn. Most of the time, you're just going to be putting yourself into position or buying units / buying units. So now we get to the action turn. And this is where you're actually going to be looking at your card and seeing how many flicks you're supposed to get. So you'll see how many flicks you're supposed to get, and you'll read all the card text to see if there's other cool things you can do, because you might be able to move your troop before you go, or you might be able to move terrain, or you might be able to move troops closer to you. And then you have to declare if you are doing a move action or an attack action, because it is drastically different. Now, let's just say that this guy's right here, and this has a range of 2. My only choice would be a move action, because I cannot attack this guy right now. He's too far away from me. Now, let's say I just did this, and, well, let's say actually I did that, and I hit him. Does that do anything? No, it doesn't do anything at all. I have not attacked him, no big thing, but if I still had 1 flick left, now I could say, all right, I'm going to do an attack action, and when I hit him, he would now be dead, unless, of course, he had a shield. So what happens then is he just gets flipped over, and I have destroyed one of his units. That card is destroyed, and I move on my merry way, and I'm a little bit closer to winning the game. Now, there are some special rules that I do want to mention. If anyone ever goes off the board, then the opposing team gets to put them back on the board within 1 inch of where they went off, and this can be used as a viable strategy to try and escape from people, which I'll talk more about in the pros and cons as well. But anywho, you're going to continue to go until you have completely ran out of money, and on your opponent's turn, there is nobody left for them to destroy. So let's just say that this was the last gray guy left out there, and I destroyed him. Boom, I would win the game, pure and simple. If you're playing a team game, then you have to destroy both of your opponent's units, all of their units on one of your turns, and then you win the game. And if it's a free-for-all, then you have to destroy the one particular person you're going after, because it's not technically a free-for-all where everyone can attack each other. Well, they can, but it's just not in their best interest. You're actually trying to destroy destroy one particular person. But if you can do that, then you will win the game. But that, in a nutshell, is how Flick Wars is played. Alrighty then, Flick Wars coming to a Kickstarter near you very, very soon. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. It says 2 to 6 players, but I was not a big fan of this at 5 and 6 players. There was just too much stuff going on, too much clutter on the board, especially with the terrain. So yes, you could take off some of the terrain, but I really liked the added terrain. And terrain is one of the reasons why I really enjoy this game, spoiler alert. But let's talk some more about some cons. Also, I was not a fan of the free-for-all version of the game mode except at 3 players. And the big reason why was in a free-for-all version of the game, it's not a true free-for-all where you can just go around hitting anybody you want. Yeah, you can, but if you do that, you are severely putting yourself at a disadvantage because in free-for-all, you're only supposed to destroy one person. If you destroy that person, then hooray for you, you're going to win the game. But if you destroy someone else, if just one player goes off the grid and, for instance, hits yellow when they should be going after blue, then whoever's trying to kill yellow just got a huge bump and is most likely going to win the game. And I don't know, the free-for-all just felt a little bit clunky to me, as did the advanced version of the game as well. And the advanced version of the game, I pretty much put it like this. They added a new command turn you can do where you can switch a unit out. So for instance, you can only have one tank out at a time, and if you could pay the one command turn and then you could switch from this tank to that tank. And it's just like, hey, I got a crazy idea. Why can't I just have both tanks at the same time? I don't know. There's no real reason why. It's just, I'm assuming maybe it's because they didn't want to pay to have, completely different artwork in there, or I don't know. I don't want to speculate about it because I don't know, but I really will. What we ended up doing was we just put a little black dot on one unit and on one card, so that way you could have 2 tank units out or 2 air units out, because honestly, it just seems like a really gross oversight and a stupid, fidgety rule that could cut out, a couple paragraphs out of the rule booklet and make the game better. But hey, whatever. I didn't design the game. Any other cons I have with the game? Yeah, it's a dexterity game at heart, which just some people, it's not going to be for them. This is really a dexterity game where if you're better at flicking and judging how far you're going to flick, then you are going to have a leg up on other people. Some of the factions are, I don't know, some of the factions feel like they're better if you're playing a team version of the game than if you're playing a solo version of the game, like especially the ones that want to be close to other friendly units. So if you're playing a team version of the game, those ones are really powerful because then you have your units to be next to and other units to be next to, and they're all considered friendly units. But anyway, they seem pretty well balanced. It's just some of them feel like they're slightly better depending on which game mode you are playing. That's about all I got on the con side because I really enjoy Flick Wars, and this is one of my new go-to lightweight filler games, especially if I have 2, 3, or 4 players. And it's really easy to see why. This game is a lot of fun. It's not a lot of strategy. It's not a lot of, which card should I play? Should I play this unit or this unit? There's not going to be analysis paralysis with this. It's just flicking fun, and the terrain really makes this game for me. Just the concept of putting terrain under the playmat and making these hills and these lulls, and if you have like something big over on the left side and something big over on the right side, then you can even make like these little canyons in the middle, and then putting stuff on top so you can have bridges to go underneath. I really loved how the terrain worked in this game, and I know terrain has been done in war games to death. But with this game, it's just different because you're flicking. Like, you actually get these Smokey and the Bandit scenarios where it's like, all right, I've got 2 flicks. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and fly it over the hill, over the top of this guy, and then land it in their base. And if I can do that, and if I can get within 1 unit, then I'll be able to hit this guy and do an attack, and it'll really help us out. And I really just like how it all came to fruition. Now, one more con that I did have with the game that I forgot to mention was I did not like how easy it was for, if people misjudge a flick, to just flick their guy out of bounds, because there's no real penalty, too harsh of a penalty, for flicking your guy out of bounds. Your opposing team gets to put it back on the board within 1 inch of where it went out, but you can still, if you're in a salty situation, you just be like, all right, I'm just flicking it all the way across the board out of bounds because I really don't care. I wish maybe there was like a 1 unium repair cost, like if you flick yourself out of bounds, then you have to pay 1 unium to, get repairs or something like that. It's a minor nitpick though, but moving on to the pros, I really enjoyed this game. I like the diversity of the different units, how each different faction played a little bit differently. It's not wildly asymmetrical, but each one definitely does feel a little bit different. And especially if you're playing the team version of the game, it's fun to have different versions kind of synergize together. Like we played with, I think it was the blue one, where they really wanted to be close to each other, because if they're close to each other, they're going to get extra flicks. And then my teammate had the purple units, where they could just put out a whole bunch of really stupid cheap units, and I was like, whoa, if you can get those units close to my units, then I can get a whole bunch of flicks. There's like this orange one that's really cool that costs 16, which is half of your money, but it's got a shield, and it's got, good range, and it's got good flicks, and then when it's destroyed, it gives another vehicle a shield, and I like the diversity of the vehicles. I'm excited to see in the future more vehicles. I liked the components. I wish the terrain map was a little bit bigger, because then you could really, I think, enjoy 5 and 6 players a little bit more. But this is a game that I think is really going to tickle a lot of people's fancy. I am super excited to see this one at conventions. I would love to see like a whole big table turned into like a giant Flick Wars table with like actual terrains and cities. I think that really could be a thing, especially if people latch onto this game, which I'm hoping they are. I want to see more units. I want to see more variety. I want to see more asymmetrical. I want to see, cooler mats with, I don't know. I just want to see more of this game. I really enjoy it. Highly recommended at 2 to 4 players. That is Flick Wars, coming to a Kickstarter near you very, very soon. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know. Laffy Taffy. Do you like Laffy Taffy, or do you like Starburst better? For me personally, I like Starburst better. I really like Laffy Taffy, but man, it's just so chewy. And I feel like I have to chew Laffy Taffy, whereas with the Starburst, it's small enough I can still kind of cram it in my mouth and just kind of savor it and suck on it and enjoy it. Let me know, Laffy Taffies or Starburst, which one do you prefer? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.